Hey, what's up guys, Will here for GSM Arena. If you're looking for a new Moto Edge phone, but you're not after the top tier model, there are a couple of other options. The cheaper one is the Moto Edge 50 Fusion, a mid-ranger going for around 350 euros. But then there's the next tier up, the Moto Edge 50 Pro, which is more premium, but the cost is closer to 600 euros. If you got the Fusion rather than the Pro to save some cash, how much do you miss out on? Let's put the two phones head to head and find out. Both the Edge 50 Fusion and Edge 50 Pro are feature-packed smartphones, though of course the more expensive Pro model has a bit more to offer. Looks-wise, the two phones are quite similar. They're about the same size, and both are available in vegan leather, which we have here. The Pro stands out with its extra camera and bigger camera island, and it has an aluminum frame, while the Fusion's is plastic. Both phones bring solid ingress protection though, rated at IP68. On either phone, you'll get a 6.7-inch curved OLED display with a 144Hz refresh rate, but the Fusion's has a 1080p resolution. The Edge 50 Pro's screen has a 1220p resolution instead, which means it's a bit sharper. Still, the difference in sharpness is hard to notice with the eye, and both panels are just as bright, maxing out at around 1300 nits, which is plenty for comfy use in the sun. The Pro does have the advantage in that it supports HDR10+ video, while the Fusion doesn't support HDR playback. On both phones, the highest 144Hz refresh rate is unlocked through a mode in settings. Otherwise, you'll max out at 120Hz, and this can dial down to 60Hz when idling to save energy. It's worth noting that there's a version of the Edge 50 Fusion sold in Latin America that has a 120Hz display instead, and an inferior chipset. Both the Edge 50 Fusion and Edge 50 Pro have stereo speaker setups, with similar performance. Both earned a very good score in our loudness test, and the sound quality is just as nice. You can get either phone with 128, 256, or 512 gigs of storage on board that isn't expandable through microSD. And both the Edge 50 Fusion and Edge 50 Pro get the same software experience, Moto's new Hello UI on top of Android 14. It brings custom Moto features which are organized within the Moto app. The app has gotten a visual overhaul, but all the same functionality is there. As far as software support goes, Moto promises 3 years of OS upgrades and 4 years of security patches for both phones. And both phones support advanced connectivity through Motorola Smart Connect. However, the Fusion lacks wired video output through its Type-C port. The Edge 50 Fusion can come with one of two chipsets, the Snapdragon 7S Gen 2 in the global version, or Snapdragon 6 Gen 1 in Latin America. Ours is the global model. The Edge 50 Pro, on the other hand, comes with a Snapdragon 7 Gen 3, no matter where you buy it. It isn't flagship-grade silicon, but is a high-performing mid-range chip. As you might expect, in benchmarks the Edge 50 Fusion gets handily outscored by the Edge 50 Pro in every test. The Pro might be the better option if you're a gamer. Still, the Fusion's performance is solid. It packs enough power for a smooth user experience, and some lighter gaming too. The Edge 50 Fusion has the bigger battery at 5000 mAh compared to the Pro's 4500. In our battery life tests, both phones managed to earn a solid active use score, but nothing spectacular. Still, the Fusion comes out on top of the Pro, but only in the video streaming runtime. The Edge 50 Pro is the clear winner when it comes to charging though. It supports 125-watt charging versus 68 watts on the Fusion. When charging, the Pro is able to fill up almost its entire battery in 15 minutes. The Fusion achieves 33% charge in the same amount of time, and it took over an hour for the Fusion to charge to full. The Pro also supports fast wireless charging and reverse wireless charging, both of which are missing on the Fusion. Now let's look at the cameras. The Edge 50 Fusion has a 50-megapixel main cam with a Sony Litia sensor, and a 13-megapixel ultra-wide cam which has autofocus. And on the front is a 32-megapixel selfie camera. The Edge 50 Pro also has a 50-megapixel main camera, but it has an OmniVision sensor and more advanced autofocus than the Fusion's. There's also a 10-megapixel 3x telephoto camera, a 13-megapixel ultra-wide, and a 50-megapixel selfie cam with autofocus. Both phones can capture pretty great photos with their main cameras. The Fusion's processing is a bit more aggressive though, with some extra sharpening, more contrast, and higher saturation than the Pro's. When it comes to zooming, the 50 Pro has the edge, producing clean and detailed shots with its dedicated telephoto cam. The Fusion needs to do a digital crop from the main cam, which comes out softer. The two phones seem to share the same ultra-wide camera, and their photos are very similar. But once again, the Fusion brings more sharpening and higher color saturation. While both phones hold their own pretty well in low light conditions, the main camera on the Edge 50 Pro does a bit better than the sibling. For some reason, when it comes to 4K video recording, the Fusion's main cam has a bit better detail and quality than the Pro. But of course, if you want to record while zooming, the Pro takes the win. Selfies from the Edge 50 Pro are noticeably better than those of the Edge 50 Fusion, with better skin tones and textures. It's nice to have the Pro's autofocus while shooting as well. And here's a look at selfie videos taken with either phone. So there you go, the lower tier Moto Edge 50 Fusion versus the more premium Moto Edge 50 Pro. The Fusion actually holds its own pretty well, despite being much cheaper. While there are a few downgrades here and there, users are able to enjoy a similar high-quality design, user experience, and speaker quality. Plus, the battery life is actually a bit better than the Pro's when you're streaming videos. However, the Pro model has plenty of advantages to show for its higher price. It has a more premium build, and a sharper screen with HDR support. The charging speed is much faster, and there's support for wireless charging. The chipset is at least 50% more powerful, and the camera experience is better and more versatile with a 3x optical zoom camera. There's no doubt that the Edge 50 Pro is the better phone of the two, and if you need those features, it could be worth getting. But for casual users that don't need the bells and whistles, the Edge 50 Fusion is good enough, and it's a much better deal. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.